Welcome to the 2025 Locked on Bama Prediction Extravaganza.
You are Locked on Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked on Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. We'll talk about Monarch Money in just a little bit. Want to thank you everydayers for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today. And thanks to everybody for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. And you know what? If you are an everydayer, then you know yesterday Jimmy and I just made mention, hey, we hadn't done our predictions. So here we are, Jimmy.
Got to do it this week. Got to do it this week because, I mean, it would be hollow to start making predictions, let's say, in October.
It would, although that is the kind of groundbreaking stuff people expect from us. But no, next week is like game by game predictions for the respective weeks. So, I mean, I'm going. Let's do it. Let's get our predictions out there. I mean, shoot, I think Auburn's already won the national championship. Didn't they already declare that they won it this year?
Auburn has also freed the world from Nazism and has won World War II.
And they're going to put a banner up in Jordan Hare for that. It seems like it's a little bigger than that, but okay.
They declared.
Regardless, Jimmy, let's start with who you think Alabama's team MVP will be this year, and also the MVPs, or let's say MOPs, for offense and defense.
Boy, I had to really think, and I considered Ty, but I mean, I think that's just getting too caught up in recency bias and this optimism. And I'm actually very optimistic about Ty Simpson, and he may end up ultimately being the right answer here, possibly. But I like being right more than I like being the sunshine pumper, and I know that surprises some people to hear that, but that is true. I prefer being right, and so I'm going to go with the best player on the team, and that's Ryan Williams as the team offensive MVP. He's the best player on offense. I think regardless of how great, average, or bad the quarterback play is, Ryan will be the bailout all season long because he can bail out the quarterback. The quarterback doesn't have to be perfect with Ryan Williams out there. I think he's going to make plays. I do think it's a deeper wide receiver core. Ryan might catch fewer balls than people think because they're going to spread the wealth. But I think he's going to make more big plays per capita, for instance, compared to last year. I think just getting the ball in Ryan's hands means a big play a lot of the time. So I go with Ryan Williams as the offensive MVP.
Well, and again, I think the way we should do this, let's say it's most outstanding player. Now, if you want your team MVP to be Ryan Williams, so be it. But I mean, it's sort of like the NFL. You know how they do like AFC best offensive player, AFC best defensive player, and then best player. I mean, and it seems like it'd be one of those two dudes, but it's not.
Yeah, they have like a league MVP and then an offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year for each conference.
So, all right, Ryan Williams is
Ryan MVP? Williams is just my choice on offense for MVP or most outstanding player. Although we could really argue on most valuable player. I can tell you this. There's one player on offense Alabama cannot lose. It's Caden Proctor.
Okay, so well, that's what I would do then. I would say your MOP. Well, no, most valuable. I guess is different. You know, it's weird the way
might
they do it.
Be Proctor, because if you lose him, you're in big trouble. But I don't look at it that way. I mean, I look at it as postseason. We're handing out awards, an MVP trophy. To me, just the best player on offense to me this year will be Ryan Williams.
God, and the thing that scares me that you say that about Caden Proctor, it's not like he hasn't dealt with injuries. You know,
sure.
He's almost like injury prone.
Ryan Grubb sort of intimated that the challenge with Proctor has been, since he wasn't out there in the spring, is, quote, getting him in game shape. There's a difference between being in shape and being in game shape. Being in game shape to them means he can play just as good on snap 70 in high heat against SEC competition as he does on snap number 1. That's different than being in shape, getting through the game, being able to pass a conditioning test. No, what they want is how effective can he be late in the fourth quarter against premium talent when it's 90 degrees?
Okay, well, I'm going to go with my most outstanding player is Ryan Williams for all the reasons you said. I think he's going to be the best player on offense. I think he's the most dynamic player on offense. I think it could be, if Jam Miller weren't hurt,
Mhm.
I think you could certainly make a case where if you wanted to predict Jam Miller, I would get it. Because, Alabama running backs historically have outperformed Alabama wide receivers.
Mhm.
But I think in this particular case, we all know what Ryan Williams is. He's a superstar. There's no denying it. I mean, we don't need to declare this. He's actually a superstar. Um, and I think he's going to have a big year. I think he's going to have a year where it's going to be very difficult to blanket him, to bracket him. He's with Horton there and with Jeremy Bernard there, and with, I think, some nice tight ends and some running back options out of the backfield. I just think it's going to be very difficult to say we're just focusing on Ryan Williams. And so I look for him to have over 1,000 yards. I'm going to say he has more than, say, 11 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns, somewhere in there. And I think he's going to be first-team All-American. He's preseason first-team All-American, and I think he will be All-American when all's said and done. My MVP will be Ty Simpson. And I say that because I'm having Alabama in the playoffs, spoiler alert. And if you're going to have Alabama in the playoffs, I think Ty Simpson has to be the MVP.
That's a great point. I think if Ty loses the job from poor quarterback play, boy, putting Alabama in the playoff at that point is a stretch.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just homers. That's just being homers. Now, people can say, well, why are you sleeping on Keelan Russell or Austin Mack? We're not. We love both of those guys.
No,
we think they've got a world of potential.
I'd predict right now Keelan Russell is going to win a Heisman Trophy at some point in his college career. Doesn't mean he, as a true freshman, he's going to rescue an Alabama season and put a team on his shoulders to get him in the playoff as a true freshman, rescuing a season. That's different than saying, do you think Keelan Russell is going to win the Heisman Trophy in his junior season?
I'll say this. I think that it's probably easier to do what Tua did as a true freshman than to take over mid-season for a failing quarterback. Tua just went in.
Something like that could happen. He could come off the bench and win a game with a big play. I could easily – I say easily. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could see that happening too.
But winning six SEC games.
And then a litany of games in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, that's – Bryce Underwood at Michigan's not doing that either.
So I'm saying Ty will be the MVP. I think he throws for a nice number that is more reminiscent of what good Alabama quarterbacks have done in the past, not named Tua Tagovailoa or Bryce Young or Mac Jones. I don't think his numbers approach their numbers. I think his numbers will be very nice. Better, certainly much better passing numbers than Jalen Milroe. The rushing numbers, I think it may, if you just did total yardage and added rushing and passing, I think the numbers may look a lot alike, and the same with touchdowns, passing, and rushing. But I think Ty's will be much more skewed to the passing side. And so in the end, I think the production is going to be better, though, because some of the runs for Milroe really should have been passes. And I think Ty's going to be able to make those decisions a little bit better. Again, and you say, well, what makes you think that? What makes me think that is he's been in the system, been in a system in college for a long time now. He's also a better passer. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that than Milroe was. And he's got a head coach in college for a dad, and I think that'll mean something. So I'm going Ty Simpson MVP, and I think it needs to be now MOP for defense. I'm going to go Deontae Lawson. And I think, again, it's more about experience. It's more about being where you need to be. I think that he may get out the gates rather slow, just, coming back from this injury. But I think that when all's said and done, I guess Deontae Lawson to me is kind of like the Caden Proctor of offense, where you just got to have him out there. You might not be able to quantify it statistically, but you just got to have him out there. I mean, and so in that regard, I could probably even say, hey, if somebody wants to say Parker Brailsford for MOP or something like that, I could get it. But I'm going to go Deontae Lawson. I think he has a really nice year, probably all SEC. I don't think he'd be all American, but I think that Deontae Lawson is a Bama at heart. And I think he's going to be one of those linebackers that makes us all very proud and leads us into the playoffs.
I hope you're right in the sense that, with Lawson, I'm going to be a little nervous about the knee until I see him, play really well. Some players, it takes almost a year, to bounce back and get to form. But I hear Lawson's been looking pretty good in practice. And I think if Luke's right, and I hope he is, and he may be, then that's the right choice. I'm going to go with LT Overton as being the best player on this defense, partly because I believe it's true and partly because we need it to be true, because for Alabama to take the next step on defense, they need a better pass rush. LT Overton's the best pass rusher on the team. He was so close to having, instead of a great year, which I think he had a great year last year, but it wasn't a dominant year, but he was so close to that. I think he takes the next step and becomes one of these double-digit sack guys, or at least somebody that scares that 10 sack number. I think LT Overton proves to be the most valuable and best defender on this defense, although there's several good candidates. I hope that Luke is right, because that means that I think with a completely healthy Lawson, he is the MVP of this defense.
Let's talk about Monarch Money. Most people can't name all the financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's in 401ks or properties or investments. And that's when you don't have the full picture, it makes things tough. You can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And you know how much I hate spreadsheets. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. And you will love Locked On College, I can assure you, because it's a Jimmy Stein guarantee, as per usual. Now I've got to find the other. Oh, it's OpenPhone. We're going to talk about some OpenPhone now. There we go. Look, it's tough when you're doing this on the fly, y'all. If you're running a business, every missed call is money on the table. It's left on the table, I should say. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait around? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. Do you juggle 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? OpenPhone can solve that right now. See why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That's openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. OpenPhone. No missed calls and no missed customers. Make for happy people. Also a Jimmy Stein guarantee. I'll be honest. You're guaranteeing a lot of things these days.
I know. I need to watch myself.
Stretching yourself a little thin. Breakout stars. So I'm going to qualify this as people who, maybe a little bit about, and I'll go first because I don't want you to steal him. I'm going Daniel Hill.
I thought you might.
Yeah, I'm going Daniel. I've been on the Daniel Hill train, who is a train, literally. And I just think he's going to have a big year. Now, could I be disappointed? Is this Jimmy John's redux or is this Derrick Henry light? I mean, it could go one of those two ways. I think it's going to be in between, a little better than Jimmy John's, or still a good bit away from Derrick Henry, but really good. I mean, I don't want to be. It was so funny the other day, and I was supposed to go on the radio today on Doug Amos' show in Montgomery, and I said something like, "Yes, Derrick Henry vibes," and people lost their minds. He's not Derrick Henry. I'm not saying he's Derrick Henry, and now I need to qualify it with please don't think I'm saying he's Derrick Henry. I think he's just going to have a really, really nice year and a breakout for me. Okay, Luke, what does a breakout mean for Daniel Hill? 550, 600 yards, 6 or 7 touchdowns?
Reasonable. No, that's really reasonable, and it is a shame how people can't take. I think describing Daniel Hill and saying Derrick Henry vibes is because he's big like Derrick. He's big in that sense, and that's what people need to know because most Alabama fans, particularly more casual Alabama fans, are unfamiliar with Daniel Hill. Period. And I think saying, well, he's like Derrick Henry, or you get Derrick Henry vibes, it refers to his size, and I would hope people would understand that. I will go with breakout star. To me, a breakout star is someone who was not a star on the team a year ago and now is going to be a significant star player on the offense. I'll go with Zay Horton on offense. I think Isaiah Horton is going to prove to be an NFL player. And by that, I mean, I don't mean a first-round pick. I think that might be a bit of a stretch, but I think a day 2 type pick immediately, like showing up that good. I think the Alabama offense may make him even better. I think he loves playing in Tuscaloosa. He wanted to play with Ty Simpson because he had played with him in high school and 7-on-7 type things, and wants to be here, loves to be a part of that wide receiver room. It's a great room. Jeremy Bernard is the leader of that group, but Ryan and Zay, I think it's one of the best wide receiver cores in the country. And Zay Horton is going to make a significant impact on this Alabama offense. Although Daniel Hill might as well. I like that pick, but I just feel more confident in Zay, in part because Daniel Hill's kind of a true sophomore, and Zay Horton will be a redshirt junior.
I do like it. I did consider it. In my mind, Zay Horton's already broken out a little.
Yeah. Well, he's new to Alabama fans.
Yeah.
But he's not new to. I mean, I've mentioned before on the show, a couple of different NFL scouts have said, "Oh, we knew about this kid in Miami. We were watching him."
I, of course, would have accepted some other answers, like Dijon Lee would certainly be one. I think even Ivan Taylor, who's been drawing some very high praise from coaches here recently, and one that I toyed with this idea because it would be such a flyer, but I'd look so brilliant if I were right, and that's Caleb Edwards.
Oh wow, I like that you mentioned that. I had a buddy yesterday make a very similar prediction, and that this guy's right about a lot of things. And as soon as he said it, I feel more confident in believing the same thing. I do believe. Amazingly, Caleb Edwards is going to play and be one of the significant tight ends, which is amazing considering A, he's a true freshman, and B, didn't get here till June. But I do think he's been physically impressive. The thing that's hardest for high school tight ends to make the transition is being physical at the line of scrimmage. He showed up that way. And I think that's been a pleasant surprise. The guy I almost would have gone with and probably should have gone with, I still think this counts, even though he's been on the team for a couple of years, but James Smith is a guy that I think is going to move from rotational piece to one of the best players on the team. I think James Smith makes a huge leap. I talk all the time about how players make year-to-year developmental steps. Sometimes some kids take developmental leaps. I think this will be a leap year for James Smith, and he's going to go from rotational piece to arguably the best defensive lineman, arguably one of the best defenders, and a guy who lands squarely on the desk of NFL front offices.
I think Quay Russaw would also be acceptable. Agreed. Because, while he is a household name for us and most Bammers out there.
A returning starter.
Yeah, and he's a returning starter. You're sort of like, well, but his stats weren't great.
He wasn't.
And so I think that's where it
might become a star player this year. He was not a star player a year ago. He was just a starter and occasionally did things that made you go, wow, he's going to be good. Now's the time. And he's worked on the pass rush. That's the thing with Quay. I mean, that's where he's got to be better is you're a good athlete and you make things happen out there, but where you haven't made things happen is as a pass rusher and you play the pass rush position. The Wolf has got to be a guy that constantly disrupts the quarterback. Q Robinson was sort of that guy last year at Wolf when he got his snaps. but he had to split him with Quay because Quay's really good at everything else. And it was kind of like a pretty good duo there because Q could get to the quarterback. Quay was really good at everything else. And of course, their names, Q and Quay. How would that not be a sitcom?
By the way, I'll give everybody a little tip out there. If you're into Scrabble like I am, and I haven't been playing as much lately, but if QI is a word, QUA is a word.
QUA is a word.
QUO, I think, has now been accepted.
Can you imagine how good Auburn would be at this game when they can declare words?
What is XZQT? I declared it. Is Quasican. Yeah. Talking a little prize picks now because, hey, we're happy to have them back on board. Welcome back, prize picks. And if I can ever find your little thing, there it is. Found it. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Hey, Jimmy, we're just giving everybody free money. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs like Luke, PrizePicks makes it easy to get into the game. I'm so excited for this coming season, and look, what you need to do is take some of these breakout picks and MVPs and MOPs that we've given you today, go to PrizePicks, make a bunch of money, and then if you feel froggy, Venmo us. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. You don't have to win with that lineup. You just need to put in a $5 lineup because at PrizePicks, you know what? You run your game. That's what you do with it. Now we're going to talk about FanDuel. And man, I got to make these things easier to find around here. Is that it? No. Where is this? Where is FanDuel? Here we go.
I bet you can find it.
Dang it. I'll write you a check. I found it. August 26th is officially FanDuel Features Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours. 24 hours, Jimmy. Traditionally, that's number of hours in a single day. FanDuel is giving you the deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ week 4, before even week 1 kicks off, I should say, this is your moment. Look, take a flyer on the MVP race. Somebody like, I don't know, you want to do Jalen Hurts? Be kind of cool. I'm going to go back to Patrick Mahomes. Want to do Allen? You want to do any of those guys? Go for it. Lamar? All those guys. Henry?
Lamar. Maybe. Go Lamar.
Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day, 24 hours, and one day only. FanDuel, that's where you play your game, and that's a Jimmy Stein guarantee.
Yeah, I'm going to guarantee everything except my picks today. I guarantee those.
It's like I tell my wife all the time. She loves the word amazing, and I'm like, if everything's amazing, nothing is. You understand that, right? And then she's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, because amazing means it's crazy, like it's out of bounds. It's things that you don't see it all the time. And when everything's amazing, you see it all the time. So anyway, Jimmy's guaranteeing.
Makes sense to me.
Speaking of when I just said Allen, I know everybody knows I meant Josh Allen. When I said Henry, I know everybody means I mean Derrick Henry. How cool is it to take a very, just a very normal name and turn it into a one name thing? It's one thing if you say,
Seal
Quay. If it was Quay Russo, and we loved Quay Russo, we're like Quay. That's one thing because you don't know anybody else named Quay. But a billion people named Henry. And when we say Henry, you're like, oh, Derrick Henry? That's what you mean. So, by the way, one more thing before we get into our playoff predictions. The AP, we talked about this. The AP came out with their first and second team All-American all-time teams. By the way, we didn't talk about the second team. Deontae Henry made the second team, which I thought clearly he had to at least make the second, if not the first. But Derrick Henry nor Bo Jackson was on the second team. I think the running backs for the first team.
Devontae Smith made the second team, correct?
Yeah, Devontae made the second.
Devontae Smith. Mm-hmm.
I think for the first team running backs were Barry Sanders and Herschel Walker. Hard to argue, although I could make a case for Derrick Henry in there. And then the second team I want to say were Archie Griffin and Tony Dorsett, maybe, I think.
I
So,
don't see how you can't put Archie Griffin in the first team. I mean, he's the only person
yeah,
to win 2 Heismans. I mean, I agree that Herschel and Bo, and Barry were better players. I agree with that. But you can't ignore the hard 2 Heismans. He's got to be on the first team.
I'm with you on that. All right. So let's not go into who all we think makes the playoffs. That takes too
Okay.
long and it's convoluted. Let's just say who's your final 4, Jimmy. Now, this gets
And the
tricky because
college
you don't know
football-
how the bracket's going to look. Yeah.
And the college football playoff, the final 4.
Well, give me your SEC champ first, I guess.
I think, and this is, I'm rarely brash or loud about a prediction that's just far afoot from everyone else. But my prediction is there is a multi-team pileup at 6-2, with a lot of teams tied in the SEC. Several teams finish 6-2, but because I have to put 2 teams in Atlanta, I'm going to say Texas and Alabama.
I'm going to say Alabama and Georgia again.
People sleep on Georgia. I got. It's just this morning actually when I was thinking about the show and thinking about, Georgia beat Texas twice last year and won the SEC. And I feel like the sense of Georgia is they're a descending program. Why do people think that? I think it's solely because of quarterback. People are thinking that.
There's a website apparently called Auburn Anonymous, and they probably should remain anonymous because their picks are so bad. But they said Georgia's on a downhill slide and Auburn's going to prove it on October 11th. I was like, haven't they won 2 SECs in a row now? Or is that right? Or no, they've been in the SEC championship 2 years in a row or something. I mean, what are they? Yeah, no.
I guess it was the loss to Notre Dame in the playoffs. But notice that it was in the playoffs, and they're the reigning SEC champion, and they beat Texas twice last year.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy to diss Georgia. Although I say that, I've got Alabama and Texas in Atlanta. I won't be surprised at all if it's Georgia and Georgia winning league. Texas and Alabama, and of course, both making the playoffs. And I think I have 5 SEC teams making the college football playoff, in part because of my 6-2 prediction, but in part because I think it's the SEC's turn. I think over time the SEC will average 4 a year, so they need 5 this year.
Well, I have Alabama, Georgia, which is kind of a blasé SEC championship game considering it's happened so much recently, but it's always a fun game. And I was tempted to put Ole Miss in there because their schedule's so lax, and I think they're still going to be pretty good. And our friends over at Locked On Ole Miss have about sold me on Austin Simmons. I don't know why. I'm just buying in. But
I think he's going to be good.
Okay, so Final 4 and national champ. I'm going to go Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Clemson. I'm not super fired up about that one. I'm going to go Penn State, and then I'm going to go Notre Dame. So Bama, Clemson, Penn State, and Notre Dame. That means just one SEC team in the Final 4. I understand. I think it could be more. I know I'm leaving Texas out, and there's probably some people firing 6 shooters in the air mad as rip at me. But there's something about Texas I'm not going to buy into just yet until they get over this hump.
Well,
So,
I'm a full buyer there. So very similar to yours. I'll say Clemson, Penn State, Alabama, and Texas. And I just feel like Alabama and Texas are the 2 best teams in the SEC. Penn State is the best team in the Big Ten. Big Ten trying to win 3 national championships in a row with 3 different teams is the way I see it, because Michigan, Ohio State won the last 2. The 2 Big Ten teams I see with the best shot to be national champions, to me, are Penn State and Oregon. But I'll put Penn State in because they're returning the most experienced Final 4 team a year ago that returns the most players. And Clemson, who, despite having a tough opener and a tough game 12, I think Clemson just dominates the ACC, and they return a lot of players. So Clemson, Penn State, Alabama, and Texas for me. Clemson, Penn State, Alabama, and Notre Dame for you, right?
yeah, and I'm going Alabama, Penn State for the national championship, and I think that is just going to be awesome. I think it'll be so much fun. I think 2 of the most historic teams with 2 of the most iconic uniforms. I just think it'll be a lot of fun. I would love a national championship game with Alabama and Penn State. I'm not going to pick a winner right now, though. I know it feels like I'm chickening out, but I'm so hesitant to say Alabama wins it all because I'm also a believer in jinxes. Look, I made my mama sit out in the car to listen to a game on the radio because we were doing better when she was in the car. I mean, that's the kind of jinx guy I am. So, and it was weird, but I'm saying Alabama, Penn State for a national championship, and I think it's awesome.
I'll have Texas winning the SEC and the national championship. I'm a Texas guy, just like I said in the FanDuel, the excellently read FanDuel commercial, where I think the Ravens, and I think this will be the year of Lamar in the NFL. He wins the MVP. Ravens win the Super Bowl. I think this is the year of Arch in college football, and I have Arch Manning winning the Heisman Trophy and Texas winning the national championship.
God, Jimmy, please, because they would be unbearable if this were to happen. You know this, right?
Well, when I make predictions, it's not because I want it to happen. The only reason right now I want it to happen is because I look right. That's the only reason I'd want that to happen. What I want to happen is Alabama win the national championship, which I do think is realistic. Alabama has the roster and the player. In my opinion, Alabama's got the roster and the players to win the SEC and the national championship and beat Texas. I believe that. I'm just not going to predict it based on the fact that 1 year ago, this same program lost to 3 teams that they shouldn't have lost to. And
I would
for
argue
that
4.
reason alone, I'm not going to predict that the very next year that they win the whole thing. To me, it's too much of a leap to predict that logically. But do they have a roster to do it? Absolutely they do, in my opinion.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.